Speaking of creepy and scary, we got a new horror movie to review. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the remake of The Grudge. So, The Grudge is a remake of a film starring Sarah Michelle Gellar from the I forget the exact year, but like early 2000s, which was in itself a remake of the Japanese film Ju-on, The Grudge. And between the American version of The Grudge, the older one I'm talking about, and movies like The Ring, which was also a remake of a Japanese horror movie, it started that new trend in America of like remakes of Japanese horror movies, or at least trying to copy that style where there's some cursed ghost or something with like pale white skin, long dark hair, and it's trying to kill people, and it has a pattern, it has why it chooses people, or how like stuff like that. And that was like the top thing. Like slasher films were like being put up on the shelf and be like, we'll get back to you maybe. And all these new movies were coming out because of The Grudge and The Ring. Something to mention before I go into my review. As I said before many times on the show, I'm not really a horror movie guy. Don't hate them. They're just not a genre. It's just not a genre that really it gets me going. Not get me going. That sounds stupid. It doesn't entertain me in the way that it entertains a lot of people. But it's not a hate thing. I don't hate horror movies because with any genre film, there is a technique to make things work, and it's not easy to make a scary movie. You know, especially for the 10 years plus now. As many people complained. John Wolfscott from the Cinema Psycho show, who was on the podcast last year. We talked about this when he came on the show about how jump scares are overused, and that's even the Conjuring universe. The Conjuring was like a big hit, but as they've expanded that movie's universe, made sequels and spin-offs, that's starting to dull out. So when a good horror movie comes out, it gets people excited. But was this new Grudge that? Well, let's get into it. So it is a remake, but at the same time, it's a remake and it's not. Whereas the first film, first American version with Sarah Michelle Gellar, took place in Japan, just like the original film. This one takes place in America. A woman who just lost her husband to cancer moves into a new house with her son, and she's a police, a detective. She's a detective. She meets her new partner, and they find a dead body somewhere in the forest, and this leads back to a house that involved another murder that her partner was a part of, but he doesn't want to talk about it. This leads her to go to that house to see if there's any connection between that house and the new murder, and then things get weird and creepy and whatnot. So I will give the movie credit. It is trying to put us a new setting. It's not just trying to copy the old film. We're in America now. There is still a connection to Japan. This is still they're still acknowledging, the old films. It's now, and for a while I was like, wait, is this like a hidden sequel? Keep in mind, I haven't never watched the original, the Sarah Michelle Gellar Grudge or the original Japanese one, Ju-on. I've never watched them the whole way through. I've seen bits and parts of the Sarah Michelle Gellar remake. But so keep that in mind. So there were some things I was like, oh, that's from the old movie, and some things I was like, it could have been from, but I don't know. I'm having some trouble talking about this movie. It stars Andrea Riseborough. She's our detective character, Detective Muldoon. And she's dealing with the loss of her husband, trying to be at work, and her son. One of the problems I have, I really don't see that stress between there's one scene where she can't get a babysitter and she has to bring the kid into work, and it's like nothing. But I'm not sure if I'm really seeing the stress of her losing her husband. It's just, I don't know. It kind of goes on the back burner for me. They're like, oh, it seemed like they were gonna come back to it, but they didn't. So I was confused by that because the events of the film of this supernatural case where you got cursed ghosts that are coming around and spreading this curse. It would be tension filled enough without the whole having that you just lost your husband thing. John Cho is in the movie, and he was one of the prominent actors you see in the trailer. I hate to say this, but John Cho is not one of the. He's in the movie, but he's not like the main character. I thought he was going to be the main character, or he was going to share it with Andrew Riseborough's character, but turns out not so. And that brings me to a part of the film where it's like we have these subplots where it's like they're like extended flashbacks to see other people who the ghost has interacted with and killed or tried to kill, and it just seems like these like they're extended flashbacks, so they're more like B plots, and it feels like they're too long. Like we're going too much into details to like the other victims of the ghosts, and it's just like, and I think that hurts the main character of Detective Muldoon because it's like there's less focus on her because we're spending so much time with these other characters. And it's like, I guess it's a horror movie. We have to have multiple kills, but couldn't this all have been in the present? Because it's just like we're just getting all these flashbacks. And I'm just like this. It's just taken away from the main. Like I see what the director was trying to do. He was trying to like do like a, like Pulp Fiction. How they're like like nothing's in technically correct temporal order. Because it's supposed to be aligning with Detective Muldoon investigating past murders involved with this cursed house. But it just comes off as if they didn't have enough for the main plot and they just extended these flashbacks. And I thought that was poorly handled. Was the movie scary? Let's get into that. Was the movie scary? No, it wasn't. I mean, there were some jump scares. One or two kind of got me. But they were like expected, where like I could see them coming a mile away, and it's just simple, like I don't know what's going on with you, man, and then just like jumping out. It was the same. It was the same scare. It was the same jump scare. Like enough. It's like how are horror movies still like? I'm not like I said. I'm not even a horror movie guy, and I'm just like, have we gotten to the point where they know this doesn't work anymore? It just like people who are friends of mine, like Eric used to, my former co-host Eric, he, even he had a problem with that kind of shit. Sarani, she did too. My other co-host. I was just like, what is going on here? What was happening? It's like this is not scary. There's no tension. The atmosphere is bleh. It's like the person who wrote and directed this film, seen other horror movies and just like. It's just bland. There's nothing. There's really nothing going on here. Oh my God. I don't know. I'm just pretty bored. There was definitely a point in the movie where I think it was about almost halfway through where I looked at my phone. I was like, "What time is it?" Well, I took a quick peek. I wasn't texting. All right. One day I took a quick peek. I was like, just pulled it out of my pocket. Enough. I'm like, what time was it? Okay, put it back. I just like I was bored. I was waiting for this movie to be over. I'm like, I'm not bored. I'm not really scared. There's no tension. There's no real creepy atmosphere. This is old stuff I've seen before. Like, oh, look how crazy this person is. Look how crazy that is. Or look how scary this thing is. There's even a point in the movie where like we see like as the curse is like there's multiple ghosts killing people. There's one point in the movie where there's one ghost that was like, who is this? Whose ghost is this? Like the other ghosts, I was like, okay, that's them. That's her. Who's this? I totally was like, oh, right, there's one character that we barely saw before. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I totally didn't. I was like, is this the ghost of the black guy? What's going on here? Like, oh, no, it's that person. Like, what the fuck? I just, like, it's bad when you're keeping track of, like, where the ghosts are coming from. All right. Anyway, we're gonna get to some spoiler talk in a minute here. So for those of you who are listening on the River's Edge radio stream, if you're watching this later on YouTube, please check out riversedgepgh.com for local Pittsburgh music. But yeah, so I'll let you screw it. We're gonna get into spoilers. We're getting into the spoilers section. I'm gonna talk about a few things. All right, let's get into this. Here's the thing. So there's a few. There's one. This film is bad. Sometimes it's just bad, like, God damn it. And other times it's bad funny. There's a few scenes, not completely bad funny. It's not like bad funny throughout, but there's some scenes where I was holding back laughter in the theater. There's this one scene where it's one of like the unnecessarily extended flashbacks where this husband of this older guy and he's talking to this one person who, like, they're living in the cursed house. And his wife is elderly, and she's gone senile from the ghosts, and she's gonna die soon. And he's talking to this woman who he hired to come and I forget what the name is, but not kill his wife, but like give her like a shot or something so she could pass away. Pass away peacefully, like the assisted suicide people, like legal, nothing like I guess it's legal where it is. And the assisted suicide person is like, says, "Oh, I can't, help your wife pass on because she's not mentally fit to accept the assisted suicide." But then she's like, "Well, here, let me stay with you a few days so I can help you." I'm like, is that a thing? Because I don't know anything about assisted suicide people, but do they just, if they can't, help your loved one pass on, do they just like stay in your house with you and provide emotional medical help? What is this? Is like, is this a thing? If it is a thing, let me know. Let me know down in the comments, because I found this very peculiar. So later in the film, the assisted suicide lady figures out that the house is fucking haunted. She tells the husband, he's like, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, why have you done anything? And he's like, and like this soft, like happy music starts to play, like, na na na, like it's like one of those, like, and he's like, "Because if the ghosts are real, that means she can still be around after she's dead, and that means we're all connected in this beautiful moment." And he grabs her hands of like the assisted suicide lady, and she kind of smiles back. And I'm like, what the fuck? Is this supposed to be funny? Because they're trying to make it look like there's this touching, beautiful moment where they realize that killer ghosts aren't a bad thing. But then it hard cuts to the assisted suicide lady, like zipping up her bag and getting ready to get the hell out of there. So I guess they were setting up for a joke, but why? What's with this tonal shift? All of a sudden we're trying to be comedic, or like it was just a weird, like I said, like the whole like, oh, this is actually a happy thing. It was a weird tone to have, and like, okay, is this guy crazy too, or is he just desperate? I didn't know. And then the next thing that's happening, like she's finally decided, oh, I should get the hell out of there. It's just like, what is this? Why is this supposed to be funny? Did they want to put a joke here in the middle of this movie, this horror movie that's supposed to be creepy and like, ooh, What is this? What the hell is this? This is not how it's supposed to work. What the fuck? Wait, this is dumb. There's also a scene in the movie where I'm pretty sure it's edited out of order. Yeah, and this is another. I forgot. This movie's some editing issues. There's like some lazy editing. So it's in the second half of the film, where at this point our main character, Detective Muldoon, has realized that there's something supernatural going on. There's some kind of ghost or spirit or something happening, right? She's questioning it a little bit. It's like, am I going insane? But she knows something is wrong. But then there's a scene where she asks her partner a follow-up question about the murders. Is like, are we going to follow up on it, or is there any new information? He's like, no, the feds have it. They're just going to take it now. And she's like, what? But this is our case. And he's like, well, that's what happens. Once the FBI gets involved, it takes things over, and now it's out of our hands. Why does she care about this now? There's no reason for her to care about it. Like, she's dealing with fucking ghosts at this point. Like, was this a scene supposed to be earlier in the film? Because it feels like it's supposed to be earlier in the film. Along with the scene where she has to, like, bring her son into, like, the police station because the sitter canceled on her, and, she's still looking over papers. And I'm like, this feels like a scene that should be earlier in the movie, where we see, she's struggling being a single parent. But it comes later in the film where it's like, no, we're past the point where we should be showing a scene like this. I really think things are edited out of order. Like I don't know, something happening in the editing process where there was a miscommunication, but this feels like a scene that should be earlier in the film, because we're at the point where she's like losing her shit because she's like, there's ghosts appearing before her, and she's freaking out, and she's like, looks like she's tired and pale and sickly because she's all stressed out. But the whole ghost thing coming in is like, this feels like a scene that should be earlier in the film. Well, what is this doing here? Yeah. And then the scene, and then the movie kind of ends how the original ends, where our protagonist decides, oh, I gotta end this. So she goes to burn down the house. Before she does, the ghosts, once they come at her son. So she calls her detective over, who, was, and, her detective partner comes over, talks to him, and she's like, I gotta end this. And then cut to a scene, her in her car with her son driving to the house so she can burn down the house without her partner. Why did she bring her son? Your partner is there. Leave your son with your partner and go burn down the house if you have to. It's like, why did we even have the partner show up? Just so we could see him one more time before the movie ends? I just why? Why? That didn't make any sense. And they have this one little thing in the movie where they set it up in the beginning of the film where her son's really scared because he misses his dad, right? And she says, "What do we do when we're scared?" He says, "We close our eyes and we count to 5." And I was like, when that happened, I was like, oh, they're going to set this. I'm like, once again, if this was something from the original film, I apologize. I never saw the original film the whole way through. But I was totally thinking, oh, they're going to set this up to be a jump scare where like they're together, her and her son, and like they close their eyes, they count to 5, and then they open their eyes, and the ghost is going to be like, another jump scare. That's not what happened. They actually set it up for where the ghost, one of the ghosts who's like a little girl that is killed by her mom, can now shapeshift into looking like other people. And she shapeshifts into the sun to try to trick her into not burning the house down, which doesn't matter because burning the house down does not stop the ghosts. Nothing stops the ghosts. It's like once you've interacted with them, that's it. It's like a disease. It spreads, right? So why does the ghost care if the house gets burnt down? What does it matter? The ghosts still get her in the end of the fucking movie, which is what happened in the previous movie. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar burns down the house, it doesn't do anything, and the ghosts still come at her. Hence, like the sequel, where if I remember the sequel correctly, Sarah Michelle Gellar kills herself in the first 10 or 15 minutes, so the ghosts can't kill her because death by ghost is a lot worse. There's also another scene where it's that lady from the Conjuring movies who plays like the Exorcist or whatever, the older lady. I forget what her name is. Where is she? She's got to be in there. Lin Shaye? Is that who? Yeah, Lin Shaye. She's in the not the Conjuring, the Insidious films. She's in the Insidious films. She's in this movie as the crazy lady who her husband wants her to like have assisted suicide. So there's a point that we see in the movie where she's gone totally nuts. She's cut off her fingers. Her husband's been dead for months, rotting. She's totally crazy from the ghosts and stuff like that. And she's put into like a psych ward where she has free reign. She's just going around on a wheelchair. And everyone's like, hi, Mrs. whatever her fucking name is. And just going around. It's like, why is this woman not in a padded cell or restrained? She was found crazy out of her mind, missing fucking fingers with her husband's rotting corpse right in the living room. Why is she getting free reign? And guess what happens? The ghost tells her to kill herself, and she does. What? I know horror movies, this is like a trope of the genre where people make dumb decisions or things are, I know it's a bit of a trope with horror movies, but it's just like, it's so glaring. It's just such a glaring issue. Like, why? Why would this obviously woman who's severely mentally ill via ghost is just given free reign in the house? She's just going around on a wheelchair. And like everyone's just like, oh, hi, Mrs. This. Why is this woman not restrained or in the special area of the hospital reserved for the really Oh, there's another scene in the movie. Speaking of like bad hospitals, like the Detective Muldoon has to go talk to like her partner's former partner who went crazy because he figured out what the ghosts were doing. And she goes to like the psychiatric ward of this one place, and she's walking down the hallway to his room. And as she's walking down, it's like stereotypical, like I'm going through. It's like Out of the Silence of the Lambs, where she's like going like these guys are running up to each of their cells, like and they're pounding on the glass, like and I'm creepy and scary looking as I look at you through the glass. I'm staring. It's like you guys realize it's been done like 100 times before in movies where like the psych ward patients are coming right up to the windows going, and it's like, what are we doing here? There's no creativity in this film. No creativity, just bad writing, bad decisions, bad directing, bad editing. Like I said, the scenes seem like out of order. Oh, and then there's one establishing shot. There's this one establishing shot for the police station where it's the front of the police station, and you see like our main character's partner go in through the front door. And I think it's used 3 times. Every time they go to the police station, they use, or during the daytime, I should say. Every time they go to the police station during the daytime, you see that establishing shot of her partner going in through the front door. Why? It does. You guys. I mean, I think they're just reusing the same clip. We don't need to keep using the same establishing shot. Once we see her go to the detective, not the police station, and we see her desk, and we see all the places. Like we get it. She's at the station. We don't need to keep using this establishing shot. What are you doing? What? Like, wow, this movie is bad. Wow. And if it hasn't become clear yet, I do not recommend this film. This film is bad. It's not good. It has moments in it that are I don't think I can't tell if they're supposed to be intentionally funny or not. They're because they're just dumb. I do not recommend this film. It's bad. No, don't even like. Well, it's a cheap ticket day at our local. No, don't go see. There's a bunch of other movies right now that you could go see. I hear Uncut Gems is good. I hear that's good. Go see Uncut Gems. Go see Adam Sandler. He's really. I hear he's great now. I haven't got a chance to see it, but I want to go see it. So yeah, don't waste your damn time on this film. It is not worth. It's not worth it. It just ain't. So yeah, this does not get my recommendation at all. This film is just boring, uncreative, and just dumb at times. I don't know how else to say it. Oh man. Oh, I need to take a little drink of water. Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to see a full episode, I live stream every Thursday night on Facebook right after I see the movie, or you can tune in to the Grudge online radio network every Friday morning at 9 a.m. If you enjoyed the show, please consider contributing to the Patreon, patreon.com/PO Vincent.